neglectful or uninvolved parenting style. The reason why we use uninvolved is because when people hear the word neglectful, excuse me, they just get into the defensive. That's not me. I love my child, so you can't say I'm neglectful. But what does neglectful mean? So oftentimes I have seen that in counseling parents or talking to parents, when they think of neglectful, they just think of those children in traffic hawking, or those children in traffic begging, and they're like, where are their parents? You just have this holy indignation, like, where are the parents of these children? Where were their parents when they do XYZ? And I almost want to say, sometimes even those people who belong to the middle class, the upper class, can be very neglectful. Neglectful just means that you're not paying attention to your child. So whatever your reason may be, the fact that a child is growing without boundaries, without attention, without instruction, without guidance, for whatever reason, just know that you are uninvolved. Some parents do not know when their children are going through certain things. I've heard children say to me, my mom did not know when I started my period. My mom doesn't know I'm having this struggle. Some parents do not know the birthdays of their children. Some parents do not know the friends of their children. Some parents can't tell best color, what the child likes, what triggers the child. They can't even read the non-verbal cues of their children to know that at this point, the way my child is looking, my child is embarrassed. At this point, my child is uncomfortable. My child is afraid. They know nothing. They are not involved. And what are the reasons why parents can be neglectful or uninvolved? One could be your work. Somebody may say, but I'm working for the children. Yes. You may be working for the children, but then if the child is neglected, where you are not involved, where you have delegated your parenting responsibility to the caregiver, to the nanny, to grandparents, just know that you are being neglectful. Anytime you find yourself being like a stranger with your child, where it is taking someone else to tell you the basic things, I'm not saying you are not God to know everything, but someone else to tell you the basic things about your child, then step back and say to yourself, I've been very uninvolved in the life of this child. So someone's job can make them uninvolved or neglectful. Does that mean that I'm saying that come home and stay and just look over the child? Now, let me still say this. I've still had to talk with children in the course of my counseling where their parents or their moms were stay-at-home moms, but they were neglectful. The mom is at home. The mom is not going to any work, but the mom is uninvolved. So I had a particular case where the children will go to school dressed by the housekeeper. The parent says to me, she's in bed. She just gives them goodbye kiss, driven by the school bus. So the mom says she would not miss an episode of Telemundo. It was important to her. So she did not want, even though she was at home, she did not want to miss those episodes by going to pick the children. And so as much as I told her, those little activities, since you're at home, helps you to bond with the child, helps you to know the child, she could not shift her comfort for the sake of the children. She said, I've provided a nanny, a cook, and everything. So why should I stress myself? So even though from the outside, a working woman may say, oh, that mom over there at home is an involved mother. No, she's not. But a working woman who goes 9 to 5 may be an involved parent. It's all about making out time, being intentional, saying to yourself, there is need for me to communicate. So your job, the type of schedule, your business. Another thing that can make a parent neglectful, which oftentimes may not be their fault, is ill health. So when a woman or a man is chronically sick, maybe going through cancer or any terminal illness, the fact is that the parent has become uninvolved. And why? Because due to their ill health, they do not have the stamina, the energy to get involved in their children's life. Another reason may be parents who are mentally ill. When a parent is mentally ill, keeps going in and out of a psychiatric institution, the parent is not there for the child. So we are hoping that the people in the lives of those children will step in to play parents. But those are the factors that can make parents uninvolved or neglectful. But then for parents who are physically and mentally okay, not being involved in the lives of their children. There was a particular case where this boy had changed secondary school like 19 times. He was, at the time my colleague was meeting with him, he was in university having all kinds of drug issues. And he said, I changed school 19 times. And most of those 19 times, my parents did not know what the issue was. The school would just, expel me. And my parents would be like, what's the next school we should put the child in? And so they were totally uninvolved in the life of that child. So that's been neglectful. That's the neglectful parenting style. Truth is, when it has to do with parenting, the fact is that if you are a good parent, and what I mean by good parent, the parent whose heart is with the child. I'm not talking about pampering or spoiling. If you're a parent who believes that your role as a parent is to raise this child and you're going to be accountable to God how you have raised this child, there is always that thing of, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough for the children? And when I say am I doing enough here, it's not the enough of am I buying them enough clothes or enough toys. Is am I doing enough as a mom? Am I being the mom I should be? Am I there for my children? Am I physically and emotionally available? So there is always that question. I don't think any parent who is a good parent often gets to that point where they beat their chest and say, I'm enough, I do everything I should do. I think there is always just that nagging thing of, am I doing enough? Have I done enough? Depending on the ages of your children. So it's called the parent's guilt, that guilt, and it goes back and forth. So there is the guilt of, especially for parents, and I would say this for the gender, the female gender, because of the stereotypical way we have lived, how we've been socialized, that makes it feel like the role of the mothers is to stay home, take care of their children and all of that. But life has changed. So many factors have made the fact that the woman has to go into the marketplace, the fact that back in the days, women were not educated. Today, the woman is educated. Back in the days, the economy was not such that a man could, carry the weight of the family. But now there is so much factor and so many things for which a woman, even just the fact that a woman wants to even express her talents and stuff, makes her go out there in the marketplace. But then it's not without the parent's guilt. So I have parents who feel like, should I have stayed home and nurtured my children? Is it okay that I'm at work? There is no right or wrong answer to this. But I know that no matter where you find yourself, because we have parents who are single parents and they have to bring bread home. They have to go out there and work. And we still have parents who are not single parents, but their husbands are not able to bring enough bread. And this has nothing to do with luxury. I'm just talking about the basic things where the man is not able to do everything and needs the support of the woman. I would say that for such parents, don't feel guilty. The parents who even thinks, I just want to express myself by going to work, don't feel guilty. The question should be, how can I be the best parent I can be given my situation? My job takes me out. When my job is not taking me out, what should I do? And still, life still provides us with certain opportunities. And no matter what kind of job you have, if we still say to ourselves truthfully, should we look at our needs, juxtapose needs and wants, and as a family we say to ourselves, at this point in the life of our children, what exactly are our needs? I'm not talking about wants. Our wants are endless, but our needs are not endless. That's the truth. If you look at the list of needs, they are not endless, but the list of wants. So a family can sit back and say to themselves, at this point in our children's life, especially the early childhood years, and I'm talking about between 0 to 6 years, or even if you can extend it, the nursery primary ages of your children, we can look at and say, can one parent be more available physically? Emotionally, any parent can be anywhere and provide Can one parent be more available physically for these children? What does it mean? Take sacrifice. The sacrifice of we now reduce our wants and crunch it down a bit for this period of our lives so that we can have more access, more time for our children. Those are the questions we can have, and to just nip out the guilt thing. But whichever way, no matter what it is you're doing, you have to find that time to be physically and emotionally available to your children at key points in their lives. Now, let me also add this. As someone who counsels young people, from the ages of 10, I've had clients 10, 12, and oftentimes, what does my job entail? Just like the job of a doctor, people come to you when you're sick. As much as you say, oh, nobody wants to be sick. But people are going to be sick. We live in the world. So my job is, I'm always dealing with parents that have issues with children, who have either behavioral issues, emotional issues, or issues with the society. And this is what I have found out. That in the course of the sessions, oftentimes you see the gap where the parent did not have time, so busy, and I don't begrudge them. This is not a judgment seat. But then I discover that when these issues come up, when these children begin to have problems, whether in school or with their personal lives, the parents have time. The parents, I have not had any child where the parents do not have time. All of a sudden, when there is trouble, there is time. So I want us to, as parents, to always ask ourselves to be parents who are proactive and not reactive. Reactionary in the sense that we wait for things to happen. People ask me, Chidinma, why do you like issues around children, around the child? I said, because for me, it is a proactive approach. We are better off trying to deal with children and raise them into wholesome adults than trying to look at damaged adults and see how we can bring them back into wholesomeness. I'll rather go with the approach where, as parents or caregivers or whoever you are dealing with children, you are looking at a proactive approach. Give that time now, because you will give it one day later when there is trouble. So give it now when they are little, when you can do a lot of things, than to wait for when there is trouble and there is time. And the fact is that there is no guarantee that that trouble may be fixed then. As the economy gets worse, the truth is families are going to get busier. And when I say families, parents are going to get busier, because we are even finding out where most people in Nigeria, especially, even the basic needs are not there. So we're not even talking about needs and wants here. So parents are going to get busier. So what are the things parents can do across stratas, whether you are in the very low level or you are the middle class or you are the higher class? People have different things they are pursuing at the different times. What should the parents do in today's world? Difficult. So one, I would say, be intentional about your community. And when I say community here, community may be extended family, community may be your church community, community may be your neighborhood, wherever it is that you have trusted adults that you can bring into your life to help you with your children. Please go for it. Let's stop all this paranoia of, oh, do you know if he has demonic powers and spiritual whatever? Those things have held us back. It has created psychological barriers where we have alienated our children from benefiting from community. So it is our responsibility as the parents, when we see that this is our life, we should be intentional, get involved with a group of people. The truth is, that thing they say, where there is a will, there is a way, is very true. If you think your life depends, you see the seriousness of not doing this thing alone because already you have a busy life, you're going to find it. You're going to reach out to people. You are going to get to know people. That is on one aspect. Then another is, for those who can afford it, take advantage of tools, technology. as much as we may be like, oh, technology, and roll our eyes, technology has saved the order of the day. It's really, really helps. For instance, I have children who are continents away from me studying in the university. Now, back in the days in our own time, we would write a letter and it would take NIPOS like 2-3 weeks to get it to our parents from just states away in Nigeria to here in Lagos. But now we have children schooling abroad. Technology helps. Last night, I was doing a video call with my daughters for 2 hours. We were seeing each other. I could tell their facial expression. I could see their body language. And we did those things all the time. So technology helps. Always ensure that there is that time. Random calls, random video call. Everything doesn't have to be scheduled. Oh, we talk only on Mondays. If you do that all the time, depending on your children, the ages of your children, they will start getting prepared. The work of a parent is spontaneous. When you are at home with your children, you do not say, now I am going to prepare myself for us to have a conversation. You are constantly having conversations in the kitchen, in the sitting room, on the dining. So when you are not physically available with your children, call them, engage them, use technology, all kinds. Make sure that they have gadgets with which you can reach them. The important thing is you are consistently talking with them. And see, for children, whether they are teenage children, young children, if you consistently engage them, they will tell you about their lives. You don't need to force it out from them because you would have shown them that you are involved in the little things, not always the big things like, oh, now let us discuss the university you are going to. No, the little things. What's going on with your friend? What's happening with your friend? Oh, was that your friend? And the friend comes, hello, hi. You are just the parent that they see. Sometimes you're on a break at work. Make that call. Oh, I can't talk to you now. Just find a way. Technology helps. So even if you're at home and you have little children and you're at the office, there is that small window, because sometimes what happens to us is when you're at work and there is that window, your mind just goes to that email you need to send. Your mind just goes to that colleague you need to catch up something with. If we intentionally say to ourselves, when we have those little windows, can I call my child's school? Can I go to my child's school? My child is 7-year-old in grade 3. Go to the school, explain to the school and say, this is what my life is. This is what my job entails at this time. But I want to be a parent who is involved with my children. Trust me, there is no school that would not feel compelled to support you. But sometimes parents don't do those things. So they just call from the blue and the school says, sorry, our school policy says X, you can't do this. But if you go to them and let them know and you say to them, please come to me, send me a mail, reach out to me, and they see you are responsive, they are going to reach out to you. So those are all the things, little things that you can do. Get to know your children's teachers. Get to know them. Explain to the teacher, I'm a very busy parent. I travel all the time, but I'm a parent who is committed to being a parent, and oftentimes we'll get that support. So I think that's what comes to my mind right now. And then let's not forget, another thing that helps is prayer. As much as I do not want to sound also spiritual and all of those things, but I know that oftentimes when we talk to God about what really concerns us, we want to be this kind of parent, that God can also show us other ways, other windows that open for us to be able to parent these children. But it requires hard work. Parenting is hard work. It's not something you just do lazily. It's let me use the word, parenting is inconveniencing. You can't just always want your convenience and be a good parent. It doesn't work that way. Else you are not going to do well at it. How do we maintain a healthy parenting style over the years? So usually with the first child, most parents, if you are lucky and you have had people who know so much, or you have lived with an aunt you had your nephews and your nieces and you learned one or two things, oftentimes the first child, let me just say it here so that parents, you take off that guilt from your chest. Oftentimes our first children are trial and error. We learn from our first children. We are naive. So no matter what you have read in the books, that is why we need people who have gone through this journey to hold our hands. And then we are humble enough to listen to them. Because I see a lot of young people who their way to go is Google. So they just go to Google and like, how do I do this? So oftentimes the first child is, we are even still discovering. We don't even know the parenting style. We don't even know what to use. So we are discovering, we are learning, we are making mistakes. But if we surround ourselves with the right people, we catch up fast. So how do we maintain to ensure that the research and the outcomes show that the authoritative parenting style is the best parenting style with the best outcomes? So how do you maintain staying an authoritative parent? You know the way we talk about peer pressure, and then we warn our children, be careful of bad friends, be careful of these, don't allow peer pressure. Peer pressure also affects when it has to do with parenting. Simple and short. If you surround yourself with permissive parent and you're an authoritative parent, trust me, you are soon going to start feeling uncomfortable with yourself. Maybe my own is even too much. It's not even that deep. Why did I demand that my child must finish her homework now? After all, my friend did not demand that. See how her child is loving her. No matter what it is you hold on to, if you surround yourself with people who do not share your values, trust me, you're not going to maintain a healthy parenting style. If you're an authoritative parent and all your friends around you are authoritarian, you are soon going to start feeling like, oh, maybe my child did this thing because it's like I'm becoming, you think I'm your mate, Abi, and then they start going to the other extreme. So it's important to maintain two things. First of all, surround yourself with people who share your values in parenting. Just the way you have values around different things, and you do not want to hang out with the wrong people who will change your values, or you have the values around honesty, integrity, and you do not want very close to you, close people to you who do not share those values to be very close to you. Parenting should be that way. Parents should take those things seriously. If you have learned that the authoritative parenting style is the key, you know the outcome, you are an intentional parent. Please, if you're an intentional parent, don't surround yourself with parents who are goalless. Who like, I beg, leave that thing. See, wetin God say pikin go be, go be. If you surround yourself with those children, with those kind of parents, pardon me, you are going to drop your standards. And over years, you are going to look back and say, 10 years ago, I was this kind of parent that was high in my demandingness of my child and high in the show of my affection. What has happened to me? I'm suddenly very low in my expectation. And when parents have very low expectation of their children, it's part of the problems we are seeing today in counseling young people. No motivation, no drive, no ambition, nothing whatsoever. So that is how to maintain it. And if you would permit me to just add a new one that research is bringing in, it's called helicopter parenting, where just the way helicopter hovers around. So you find parents who just hover. They don't want their children to make mistakes. Oh, I made this mistake. I don't want my child to make mistake. I don't want my child to be sad. I don't want my child to get into trouble. I want to save my child from life. That's not possible. Our children are going to make their mistakes. We cannot save them from life. So you find helicopter parents, a lot of them now. And is there a reason why we have a lot of helicopter parents? Yes. In a place like Nigeria, there is insecurity. We are hearing cases of kidnapping, sexual abuse, sexual harassment. So what are parents doing? They are covering up. Oh, I don't want my child to go anywhere. I've had parents who go to birthday parties for university graduates, and while the children are having their parties, the parents are sitting somewhere. University graduates, I'm not talking about 10-year-olds. I've seen parents who, their children are in university, their children cannot travel alone. So a nanny, there is still a nanny. They fill jump forms for their children. They practically do everything for their children. They think for their children. So their children do not know how to make decisions. So those kind of parents, they are afraid. They are anxious parents. They are the parents that feel like, if I am so in the life of my child will be perfect, without flaws, marry the best spouse, raise the best children, have the greatest job, life is perfect. That is very utopian. So the best way to maintain a healthy parenting style is just to ensure that we keep learning, and then we surround ourselves with the right people. So you are a parent with an older child, and then this is coming to you in quotes late. Like maybe you are saying to yourself, oh my goodness, if I knew this thing 20 years ago, 25 years ago, maybe I would have made better choices, better decisions. And this is to say this, there is that place of serendipity in the sense that some parents used all the wrong styles, or they're not even intentional, and their children turned out well. There are cases like that. Very permissive parents with children who are amazing. Authoritarian parents, amazing children. There are still cases of authoritative parents and you're like, what went wrong? Which is very rare. Then there is still the place where the parents did not know, no parenting style, nobody taught us, we didn't know anything. And today, the outcomes are showing they are having issues with the children. They are seeing their children struggle with life. Their children can't stand up and move. Their children are dealing with coping skills, life skills. They don't know how to do those things. So those parents are sitting back and they are probably filled with guilt. I have seen the most distraught people across the table in my counseling room, seeing parents cry. Parents say things like, I'm going to go to my grave regretting I took this decision on this child. It's so heartbreaking to see those things happen. And can we, regardless of what it is that I do, can we come to that point in life where everybody gets to know these things and do the right things? The answer is no, sadly. And sometimes it is not from a lack of knowledge that people do the wrong things. Sometimes people know what they should do, but there is no that strong willpower for them to be consistent. Or some people don't even agree and say, I don't agree with all this crap you people are talking about. And eventually, the results, the outcome happen and they're like, how did we get here? I've had parents say to me, I have done everything for this child, everything. And how come this child turns out this way? Sometimes the everything shouldn't have been everything. That's in the first instance. So what should parents who have older children and who seem to have run late on this, what should the response be? The response should be, first of all, you say to yourself, you did what you thought was best at the moment when you did it. I think that should help, in the sense that, yes, even though you are a permissive parent or you were uninvolved, at the moment, at that time, you felt. Some uninvolved parents who worked themselves were not available. Some of them believed that they were working to ensure that they provided for the children. So first of all, you say to yourself, I was not vicious. I was not doing these things with the intention to destroy my child. I did what I knew to do then. That is on one end. So because there is really no need to keep beating yourself over and maybe you destroy your mental health in the process of guilt and regret. Then there is the place of trying for reconciliation, depending on if the outcome of your children are such that they have become estranged. The reconciliation of, if you find that you are an authoritarian parent and you drove your children to the wall such that some of them are now resentful of you, there is nothing wrong in taking away pride and going to those children and actually admitting, I was high-handed. I was high-handed because I thought that was what was best. Now I know better. Is there any way we can begin to mend our relationship? Is there any way for some of the things I have said to you? Because authoritarian parents can be very, what's the word? They can be very coarse. Like they can be vicious. Some of them have said very hurtful things to their children in the bid of trying to make them go. You can go for reconciliation and say to the children, I know you people are grown now and you may resent me for A and B not being emotionally available to you. Is there a way for reconciliation? Then this one is a bit difficult for me to say. When we talk about stress management, there is always the 4 A's, and one of the A's in stress management is acceptance. So for parents who may have missed it and now you have problems in your hands with your older children, and excuse me, it's not a case of reconciliation or all of that, as in your children are way out of it, like they are having issues with substance, with the law and all of it, that table for conversation is not there. Should you kill yourself over it? The answer is no, but you come to that place of acceptance. Just the acceptance of, I didn't do it well, and this is the outcome. I take responsibility. I'm the parent here. I am the parent. And if there are ways to use the things, the learnings, and start to use it to even talk to younger parents and use it as a tool where you can become that person who uses your experience to teach younger parents the best way to parent children, that would be beneficial. That would have been you taking some of the things that may seem like a disadvantage and turning it around. I think this is what I have to say for parents who have older children. Okay, my name is Chidinma Abiakalam. Again, I'm a family coach and a child consultant. And today we have been talking about the different parenting styles and how your parenting style affects your children and what you can do to ensure that you use the parenting style that works best. Thank you and God bless.